Have you ever been deeply hurt by someone, and instead of telling them what they did, you suddenly became quiet? You stopped explaining. You stopped arguing. Maybe you even told them, "I'm fine," but inside you were replaying everything. The strange part is that silence can look like indifference from the outside. Someone might assume you don't care, that you've moved on, or that nothing affected you. But sometimes the exact opposite is true. Sometimes people become quiet because they are feeling so much that speaking feels difficult, dangerous, or pointless. And if this sounds familiar, there may be more happening psychologically than you realize. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some people withdraw when they're hurt, why silence can become a form of protection, and how to tell the difference between taking healthy space and disappearing from your own emotions. Number 1. Silence can be a protection strategy. When people feel emotionally threatened, they don't all react the same way. Some confront. Some become defensive. Some try to fix everything immediately. And some become very quiet. Psychology often describes responses to perceived threat in terms of fight, flight, freeze, and related defensive reactions. We usually imagine threat as something physical, but humans can also react strongly to social and emotional threats. Rejection, humiliation, criticism, abandonment, or conflict with someone important to us. For some people, becoming quiet is a way of reducing the emotional intensity of the situation. Imagine someone you care about says something unexpectedly cruel. You know you're hurt. You can feel your body becoming tense. But when they ask, "What's wrong?" you say, "Nothing." Not necessarily because nothing is wrong, but because your mind may be doing something protective. It may be saying, "Don't make this worse. Don't say something you'll regret. Get through this moment first." So you withdraw. The silence creates distance between you and the thing that hurt you. And sometimes that distance is exactly what you need. The problem begins when temporary protection becomes your only way of dealing with pain. Because silence can protect you from a difficult moment, but it cannot always resolve what happened inside you. Number 2. You may have learned that expressing hurt doesn't work. People don't develop emotional habits in a vacuum. They learn them through experience. Attachment research has long explored how repeated interactions with caregivers and close relationships can influence the ways people seek comfort, manage closeness, and respond to distress. If expressing difficult emotions repeatedly leads to comfort and understanding, you may learn that vulnerability is relatively safe. But imagine growing up in an environment where sadness was dismissed. You cried and heard, "You're too sensitive." You tried to explain yourself and someone immediately became angry. You admitted that something hurt you and were told, "Stop making everything such a big deal." Eventually, you may learn something very simple. Talking doesn't help. So instead of explaining pain, you contain it. Years later, someone hurts you in a relationship. They expect you to tell them what happened. But something inside you says, "Why bother?" You may not consciously remember every earlier experience. Yet the strategy remains. Stay quiet. Handle it yourself. Don't give anyone another opportunity to dismiss what you feel. This is why silence can sometimes be misunderstood. To another person, it may look like emotional distance. To the person withdrawing, it may feel like emotional survival. Sometimes the person who says the least has simply learned to expect the least from being heard. Number 3. Going quiet can be an attempt to regain control. Emotional pain often contains an uncomfortable feeling of helplessness. Someone said something you couldn't prevent. Someone rejected you. Someone disappointed you. Something happened that you cannot immediately undo. One psychological concept relevant here is perceived control, our sense that we can influence what happens to us or how we respond to it. When a situation makes someone feel powerless, they may naturally search for something they can control. And sometimes the easiest thing to control is access to themselves. They cannot control what you said, but they can control whether they answer. They cannot control whether you apologize, but they can control whether they continue the conversation. They cannot erase the hurt, but they can create distance from its source. Imagine receiving a message from someone that completely changes your understanding of the relationship. You read it. You feel angry, embarrassed, and hurt. You type a response. Delete it. Type another. Delete that too. Finally, you put your phone down. For the next several hours, you say nothing. That silence may be partly about emotional regulation. You are trying to regain enough internal stability to decide what happens next. And that can actually be healthy. Taking time before responding is very different from using silence to punish someone. One creates space for clarity. The other uses distance as a weapon. The difference is intention. Healthy silence says, I need time before I can talk about this well. Punitive silence says, I want you to suffer because I'm not talking to you. Silence itself isn't automatically healthy or unhealthy. What matters is what you are using it for. Number 4. Sometimes you're quiet because you don't yet understand what you feel. Not every emotion arrives with a clear label. Sometimes you know something hurts long before you know exactly why. Research on emotional awareness and emotion labeling suggests that identifying and putting feelings into words can play an important role in emotional regulation. But that process isn't always immediate. You might think you're angry, then realize you're disappointed. You might think you're disappointed, then realize underneath that disappointment is rejection. And underneath the rejection is something even more vulnerable. I thought I mattered more to you. Imagine a friend cancels plans with you again. You tell yourself it's not important, but afterward you become unusually quiet. They ask whether you're angry. You honestly don't know, because the real feeling hasn't fully formed into words yet. Later, while you're alone, it becomes clearer. You weren't upset about one canceled dinner. You were hurt because it reminded you of all the times you felt like someone's second choice. This is why forcing yourself to speak immediately isn't always useful. Sometimes silence is the room where emotions become understandable. But eventually, understanding needs language. Because people cannot respond to feelings you never allow them to see. And sometimes healing begins with a sentence as simple as, that hurt me more than I expected. If you recognize yourself in this, take a second to like the video and comment one word that describes what you usually need when you go quiet. Space, clarity, safety, or something else. And if you know someone who struggles to explain what they feel, consider sharing this with them. Sometimes understanding a pattern is the first step toward changing it. Number 5. Silence can protect you from rejection but also prevent repair. There is a painful contradiction in emotional withdrawal. You may become quiet because you're afraid the other person won't understand you, but by staying quiet, you also make understanding less likely. Psychological research on avoidance broadly suggests that avoiding uncomfortable experiences can provide short-term relief while sometimes maintaining problems over time. Think about what happens after an argument. You feel hurt. You want the other person to realize what they did without you having to explain it. So you become distant. They notice, but they interpret your silence differently. Maybe they think you want to be left alone. Maybe they think you're angry about something unrelated. Maybe they become defensive. Now both of you are waiting. You are waiting for them to understand. They are waiting for you to speak. Days pass. The original pain becomes mixed with resentment. This is one of the risks of silence. Your inner experience can feel obvious to you because you are living inside it. But other people cannot see the story happening in your mind. They see behavior. They see shorter replies, a closed door, less eye contact, a conversation that suddenly ends. They may know something is wrong, but they may not know what. Silence protects you from the possibility of being misunderstood when you speak. But it can almost guarantee misunderstanding if it continues forever. Number 6. Quiet people often process before they communicate. Not every withdrawal pattern comes from fear or trauma. Sometimes people simply need time to process emotional information. Research on emotion regulation shows that people use different strategies to manage emotional experiences, and there is no single response that works equally well in every situation. Some people think while talking. Others need to think before talking. If you belong to the second group, immediate confrontation can feel almost impossible. Someone asks, "Why are you upset?" And your mind goes blank. Then 3 hours later, you suddenly know exactly what you wanted to say. You weren't trying to avoid the conversation. You simply needed time to organize the experience. The problem is that other people may experience that processing time as rejection. That's why one small communication habit can make an enormous difference. Instead of disappearing completely, communicate the pause. You can say, "I'm hurt, but I don't understand everything I'm feeling yet. I need some time, and I want to talk about it later." Notice what that does. You are still protecting your space, but you are no longer forcing the other person to guess what your silence means. Emotional maturity doesn't require you to have the perfect words immediately. Sometimes maturity is simply being able to say, "I don't have the words yet." Number 7. Healing means learning that silence can be a choice, not a prison. There is nothing inherently wrong with becoming quiet when you're hurt. Sometimes silence prevents unnecessary damage. It gives your nervous system time to settle. It gives anger time to soften. It allows you to separate what happened from what you initially feared it meant. But silence becomes costly when you no longer feel capable of doing anything else. When every conflict becomes withdrawal. When every disappointment becomes distance. When every painful emotion becomes something you carry alone. Real emotional strength is not forcing yourself to speak immediately. It is having options. Sometimes the healthiest response will be, "I need an hour." Sometimes, "I need tonight." Sometimes, "I don't want to continue this relationship." And sometimes, "What you said hurt me, and I want to explain why." That last sentence can feel frightening because communication creates uncertainty. The other person might understand. They might apologize. They might become defensive. They might reveal that they are not capable of giving you the emotional safety you hoped for. But even that information has value, because speaking honestly is not only about changing another person. It is also about refusing to abandon your own experience. So if you tend to go quiet when you're hurt, don't automatically judge yourself for it. Your silence may have served an important purpose. Maybe it protected you. Maybe it helped you think. Maybe it once kept difficult situations from becoming worse. But a coping strategy that helped you in one chapter of your life does not have to control every chapter that follows. You can keep the pause without losing your voice. You can take space without disappearing. You can protect yourself without pretending you don't care. And you can learn to say what hurts without believing that your feelings need someone else's approval to become valid. Because perhaps the goal isn't to become someone who never goes quiet. Maybe the goal is to become someone who knows why they're quiet, what they need during that silence, and when they're ready to speak again. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, subscribe for more videos about psychology, emotional intelligence, and the patterns quietly shaping the way we think, feel, and connect. And remember, sometimes silence is where you process the pain, but your voice is where you begin deciding what happens next.